Good people, it is Friday night, 7:30-ish, and we are in the building. A lot has happened in the world of sports. We'll bring you what we can in an hour. But you know one thing for sure. You'll get a lot of opinions. You might agree, you might not. It is what it is.
You probably won't.
They out there. At least not with him. But you know how I go, man.
This dude like pointed at somebody that's not even here. Just like somebody that's over on that side of the room. Just
Yeah. I forgot I didn't put my thing on where it models where I'm pointing. I do have that on some of my streams, so I forgot I didn't put it on this one. But leave it to the jerk to have to point that out instead of just roll with it. But hey, some people are who they are.
I mean, you're the one who said people are going to disagree with me instead of just leaving it alone. So, I'm just meeting jerkiness with jerkiness, man.
Oh, tit for tat. Oh,
yes. That's how we roll over here. Everybody knows that.
That's so cute. Good people. We'll get a little interest tonight. We even gonna put up our little roller ticker and everything. We're gonna keep it real, which is like, keep it real. But before we go any further, this is your boy Cool McCain, and I'm joined as always by this gentleman over here.
Yes, the one who is now actually being pointed at. It's your boy Box.
Oh, double tit for tat. Oh, that's so cute. Good people. In case you forget, in case you just want to see it again, and if it's not one of those things, it is what it is. You're still about to see it. Tell you who we are.
The PlayCallers.
So, in the world of sports, the arena, lots of things have happened. Some of the things more off the court / field, some more on. But talk about as much as we can. So let's start off with a $5 million Caitlin Clark offer for the Big Three. So we'll do a 2-and-1 for this one. So the first question, sir, offers there. How do you feel about that? The second question, just for those who may not be aware of this part, there's been a lot of female basketball players and supporters of female basketball that are kind of upset at Ice Cube and asking, why is this the first female that you're offering, this contract to? So the second question would be, what are your thoughts on the second part, as far as how there's kind of coming out of him saying, hey, why is this the first person you're offered? And then also, what do you think about them offering a Big Three deal to Caitlin Clark?
So I look at this from a couple perspectives. I mean, first of all, I like the offer itself, right? Especially because he's not even trying to like steal her away from the WNBA or anything, right? It's like you can still do both. And it's being presented kind of this idea of she's being given this opportunity to come in and maybe break down the barrier and allow other ladies to be able to come in and have a place to play and get paid without having to go overseas once their season's over, right? Because we talk a lot about that, where that's one of the unfortunate realities of the WNBA is that they have to go overseas just to get paid enough to be able to get by. So I love the deal itself, right? I haven't looked at all the specifics of it, so there could be some aspects that you might talk about that I'm not familiar with. But overall, from what I've seen, I actually like the deal itself. In terms of why people are mad, it's the crabs in the barrel thing, man. People mad because it wasn't them. I'm sure there's some other reasons why people are upset. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's got to be somebody. There had to be a first at some point. Why are you not just happy that it's actually there? Why are you not just happy the opportunity exists? That's kind of what kills me with that, right? If you feel like you should be in that situation also, if you feel like there's something that this is an opportunity that you should be able to take advantage of, then go out and prove to people that you deserve that opportunity. It's not really that complicated. But hey, man, I'm kind of an old school guy who just believes in, self accountability and not just handing people stuff because they cry about it. So,
Yeah. I love the offer as well. A lot of the same reasons you said, but also if you're Ice Cube, you're being smart. There hasn't been a female player that has garnered the following that Caitlin Clark has, right? A lot of offensive accomplishments she's had. She would bring new eyes, new fans to the Big Three. Got to adjust this hat, y'all. It's not feeling right on the dome. There we go. So she would bring more fanfare to the Big Three, right? And this is that opportunity to have a female go out there and compete with these Big Three players and see, hey, can she hold her own? Do I think she would go there and dominate? Absolutely not. But there's one thing, the only other woman I think that could have done what she could do, but didn't have the same fanfare as Sabrina Ionescu, right? Because the 3-point ability. You get the 4-point plays in the Big Three and all those things. So those are things that she would be good for that game for. Her guarding the guys there, obviously it's going to be an issue, right?
Yeah.
So there would be some issues if she were to accept. But again, things can't happen until someone breaks the mold in the trailblazer. And having a woman who everybody wants to see, whether you want to see her succeed or see her fail, that's Caitlin Clark. A lot of people know her name that don't even watch the sport of women's college basketball.
Yeah.
A lot of people will matriculate to the WNBA to watch Indiana Fever games because she's going to the Indiana Fever. Let's be clear. There's no questions. There's no speculation. She's going to be a member of the Indiana Fever. So they will have a boost in views. If you play them, you'll have a boost in views for that game because she's there. So if I'm Ice Cube and I have this business that's not doing bad, but can always use more eyes, why not go after somebody who can make it more entertaining? And say this doesn't go all right. Say she doesn't have an opportunity to make a large impact because playing with the guys is just not working out. Maybe says, well, you know what? Maybe we'll get some female teams since she does bring the eyes. Maybe we'll get some ladies to play. Maybe we'll get, into a female one as well. Just adding more time for venues, and things like that. And have both. So you never know what might happen from this experiment. But you got to do the experiment.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the second question about people getting upset, there's always going to be somebody that says, why you didn't give me that opportunity? But as I just said before, name me a female player who has garnered the media attention that she has, not named Angel Reese. You can't. And that's the point. Yes, she is a very good scorer. But what she also is a followed female. She's an individual that people want to follow because of who she is. That's what you want to bring in. You don't want to bring in somebody just to say that they're a female. If you're going to bring in a female and put them in a Big Three, you want to be somebody that people are going to watch and talk about. We're on this show and so are several other people on several other shows talking about the Big Three because of this Caitlin Clark offer. Yep. How many times have you seen us talk about the Big Three in the past? You've seen me talk about it a little bit, but how much, like on a consistent basis, have you seen us talk about the Big Three? Mm-hmm. We just spent 7 or 8 minutes talking about the Big Three because of the offer to Caitlin Clark. That's the whole point. Even if she doesn't take it, it's still exposure for the Big Three. Kudos to Ice Cube. That's how you do business.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and here's the thing that people have to realize too, right? Is that at the end of the day, if you go out and you just take any female and you put them in the Big Three and they go out there and they struggle to put up points, they struggle to play defense, they're struggling against some of the guys, right? Then the situation becomes a negative, right? People like, see, this is why women shouldn't be involved, right? This is exactly why. So you need somebody that can go out there, at the very least, a really good shooter who can go out there, like you said, not down those 4-point plays and things like that. So they go out there and they can at least put up stats that make them look like they belong there. And at the end of the day, man, like I feel like if she can go out and play well there, that's going to be something people are going to watch. And then what are those same people going to probably do? If they enjoy watching her game, they actually might tune into WNBA games to watch her play.
Anything could happen, man. Anything could happen. Yeah, they'll tune in. So another point about the lady that we just mentioned, one Angel Reese. So Angel Reese was asked if she is going to go to the WNBA or stay in college. She hasn't made up her mind. She's undecided. But what she said that ticked a lot of people off was either way, she would get paid either way because she's a cultural icon, right? She's someone that's making money off NIL. NIL is really working for her. She's followed a lot. She's done those things. She's famous. So a lot of people are upset because of what she said, especially a lot of fans, but there's some players as well. So for this one, I'll simply go, I'll say this. My question is how your thoughts on it, right? But I'll say this before you go. Did she lie?
No.
She did not lie. As long as she did not lie, you can dislike the fact that she can pop off and say, hey, I'm gonna start either way. I'm getting paid either way. So I'll decide what I decide. Honestly, if I'm her, I'm gonna go back to college. You're gonna get paid probably more than college than your salary would be in the WNBA. Now, obviously, you have the opportunity to do some other things in the WNBA, but now you can have a shoe deal in college. You can do all those things while you're in college. The WNBA isn't going anywhere. So I would take the year to be another face of college basketball if I were her, women's college basketball, and I'd go back to school because you're already a star. You're already getting money.
So I'm just going to say this. I think a lot of people kind of have this, mentality, right? Where they want to kind of go back to the days where people played sports for the love of the game, right? Or at least people are willing to give the impression that that's what it was about, right? They'd come out, I just want to be here for my team. It's not about me. It's not about my stats. It's about winning, right? All that stuff that we're used to hearing athletes say. People are upset because this newer young generation, they don't think that way. That's not their mentality. Their mentality is, I'm trying to get as much as I can. And they don't feel bad about it. They're not trying to hide it from anybody, right? There's no shame for them around the idea of trying to make as much money as possible, right? Whereas like the older generation, people didn't want to be seen as selfish or greedy. So there was a lot more shame kind of around publicly coming out and saying something like that. And so I think people they need to shift their perspectives and just understand that like this generation doesn't think the same way you do. And I find it funny because a lot of the people that are complaining, if they go to work and their boss comes to them and say, hey, I'm not giving you a raise this year, they're not going to send their boss's office and go, that's okay, boss. I'm here for the team. It's all about the team. As long as we're winning. They're not going to do that. They want to get paid.
It's wild to me how what we expect from other people that we don't do ourselves. It's wild. I'm all for you getting your money, right? I'm completely for everybody. If you can get your money, get your money. Now, this wasn't on the docket, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there too. So there's been an uproar because Hassan Reddick was traded from the Philadelphia Eagles to New York Jets for a third round pick. There could be a second, depending on if he plays, like I think 75% or whatever the percent of snaps are. Of the defensive snaps. So a lot of people are mad, both sides, right? I can tell you this. The way this goes is you have teams that operate different ways. But the way the Eagles operate is every position has a maximum that they're willing to pay for that position. Doesn't matter if you're Aaron Donald or you're, some no-name defensive lineman. There's a minimum, there's a maximum you're going to get paid.
Right.
What Hassan Reddick wanted for what he would be in this defense, because keep in mind, there's a lot of crying about, what he did the last couple of years. We will no longer be running that defense next year because we have a new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. Sean Reddick would have to be a rotational player because he cannot cover. We also have Josh Sweat there. We went inside Huff that does the same thing, but has some ability to cover the pass. So there are other guys that are there already as well. When a guy wants to be paid more than you're willing to pay him, and you know you can get at least what you would get by just letting him walk, possibly more if he plays what you expect him to play, then you make the move and you save the salary cap for this year. This man was going to count over $15 million against the Eagles salary cap. Now this money's gone. There's been several instances of this within the history of the league. It doesn't mean he's not a good player. Doesn't mean that I and other people who understand why the move happened wouldn't want him on the team. What it means is he wants his bag, and he deserves his bag. The production that he's had in a 4-3 defense, which the Jets do play, by the way, he deserves his bag. But because the team he's with is not willing to give him that bag, I'm sure they kind of went and said, well, what teams would you want to go to? Right? And people say, well, why would you pick the Jets? Let's not forget, Aaron, the Mushroom Man Rodgers will be back this year. So it's going to be a really good team in the AFC. So he gets a chance to go from a contender to a contender, right? So I'm sure there was a list of teams that he provided. I'd be willing to go to these teams with no problem as long as they're willing to pay me. So I think kudos to the organization for getting at least the compensation that you would get if he just walked, possibly more, and getting rid of him a year early so that you can retain more salary cap fundages. That doesn't mean we have to go out and find another Hassan Reddick. Calm down. You could ask my co-host here if you can ask your fans of any team that you're a fan of. This always happens, and and not just for Eagles fans, but for everybody, because this is a big name, and we knew this was coming. But you have to understand, business is business. You know, shout out to him. I hope they give him everything that he wants, and I hope that he enjoys it, and I hope that he's that dude for them. Because we wouldn't have to see him until the Super Bowl.
Right.
AP says you think Eagles will trade Sweat. It was rumors he might leave. So one of them were leaving. Sweat agreed to take a pay cut to stay because he understands he's going to be a rotational player. Hassan Reddick wanted more money to be a rotational player. You can fill in the dots from there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep this really simple. I don't know if it's Eagles fans that are upset about this. I'm assuming.
No, everybody, not just Eagles fans. Fans of other teams, because, you know, what always happens in these situations, oh, if all it took was a third that could turn into a second, he could have came to us. A lot of that going on as well.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. First of all, in terms of they could have came to you, you got to have the money to pay him. And you got to be willing to part with that draft capital for a guy who's 30 years old. And look, I'm not saying that he's not still going to be a productive player or anything like that, right? Like you said, the reason y'all were willing to move on is because he didn't really fish a new defense, because he does have that one glaring weakness, which is he cannot cover, right? He is strictly a pass rusher. The thing is, at the end of the day, I think that y'all were lucky to even get what you got. Because most of the time when a situation comes up where everyone knows you're going to have to move on from a guy, you usually don't get a very high draft pick. So the fact that you were able to get a third round pick that could become a second is actually really good for you. Like, that's actually a really good trade for a guy that you weren't going to keep no matter what.
Well, there's a lot of people out there, sir, that disagree with you. I thought we could have got a little bit more, not necessarily the first, but maybe that conditional third and then another later round pick for him or something like that. Thought we could have got a little bit more. But hey, one of the things I'll often say, you're only worth what someone's willing to pay. And then you got to think about it also hurts. And this goes with every pick. Every guy that's trading teams, that's getting traded or whatever. When you're getting paid too, you don't get as much as you will get. Look at the Justin Fields trade. Perfect example. You're going to have to pay him after this year. So you're not going out and giving a whole lot you're not giving a whole lot for him because you got to pay him. Anytime you have to trade for a guy and then pay him, you're not getting as much as if the guy's already signed for 2-3 years. So it's just that simple. And then AP says, glad Washington traded Chase Young. Laugh out loud.
I'm glad we're gonna get our draft pick back as a comp pick.
Hey, worked out for everybody.
Yeah.
Commanders needed that money to sign guys like Brian Burns.
Yeah,
so it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, the Giants signed Brian Burns, sir, not the.
I mean, not Brian Burns. So many moves.
Yeah.
But the Commanders did make a lot of moves, so they needed that money for those moves.
Yeah, they need the money. He had kind of worn out his welcome there. So, it worked out for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Bobby Wagner. There you go, AP.
Wagner. The ageless one.
Yes. Yep. I just want to throw that out there since there's been a lot of talk about that going around there. So we're going to also give you guys an update on men's and women's tournaments, and a couple of things I say didn't go the way I expected, but that's okay. So if you listen to our radio show, then you heard our update kind of getting to the Sweet 16. So we're just going to pick up from there because that's what's important right now. So in the Sweet 16, we had in the Eastern bracket already completed, we had UConn with a 82-52 victory over San Diego State. 30-point whooping. Mm-hmm. We also had Illinois beat Iowa State 72-69 in a very tight game. So that Elite Eight matchup has already been set. That's going to be UConn at Illinois for a berth in the Final Four. Yes. Now, over on the South, nothing's been decided yet. We do have a Houston-Duke game that's going to be starting tonight at 9:39. And then we have NC State and Marquette at halftime right now, with NC State up 37-24. But just to be clear, just because you're up at halftime doesn't mean much.
Right. You ain't winning nothing.
All right. At halftime. All right. And then in the Midwest, we don't have either game completed yet. Tonight at 10:09, we'll get Creighton and Tennessee in the 3-2 matchup to determine who will play the winner of the 1-5 game between Purdue and Gonzaga. It's now about 10:50 left in the first half, and Gonzaga's up 20-17, so that's a tight game.
Yes.
We saved the worst for last, in my opinion, today. So in the West,
aka the bracket that I think almost every single person is busted in.
I'm no longer looking at my bracket because my national champion lost because they choked away a game in the second half that they should have won. 25% shooting, you can't win. But number one, North Carolina. What's the best way I can say this? I'm going to say what I've been saying. So North Carolina lost 87-89. We have a Player of the Year candidate in RJ Davis who decided to do a mind swap with Caleb Love and decided not to show up in the most important game that we played in because we didn't get any further. The first half, he only made like one shot. The second half, he missed. He was like 1 of 11, and they were all like threes. And at the end of the game, he's driving and taking too long to shoot, getting blocked, not making the right play. It's disappointing for your season to end because your best two players can't get it done. And in the important minutes, and not necessarily the last minutes, because he did hit some big free throws. So I'm not trying to say he didn't do anything. But in big moments where he was needed, there were stretches in that second half where Carolina did score for 4 or 5 possessions. That's unacceptable from a team that's a number one seed that had aspirations of a championship. But on the other hand, shout out to Alabama. Alabama came out there. In Alabama, they were down by 8 at halftime. They fought back. They stayed in the game. Every time Carolina hit a big shot, got up by a couple of buckets, they stayed in there. They made things happen. And they were able to come up with a couple more plays at the end of the game. They went on what I think was like a 11-5 run to close the game and win. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. So, hey, big ups, Alabama. Y'all did what y'all supposed to do. I ain't blaming the refs. I'm blaming the players on the court. A lot of people are blaming the coach. I'm only blaming the players on the court because it's execution. It's not coaching when you lose by 2 points. That's execution.
Yeah.
So we had all these guys that they brought over for 1-year runs, and some guys may be back next year. But hey, execution's got to be better. And then also the bottom of this bracket, that was busted as well. And I'll let you talk about them after we finish. Any of them you want to talk about? Bottom of the bracket as well was busted. Because we had number 6 Clemson upset number 2 Arizona. Caleb Love went out there and stunk it up as well for his team. Clemson came with a game plan.
With, Caleb Love, I was like, I don't think that's who we might swap with. Because he didn't go out there and play like he was a player of the year either.
No,
so
he didn't. No, that's what I mean. Neither one of them did. They played pretty much the same for most of the game. The thing is, Clemson had an excellent game plan. They knew what they wanted to do. They decided what they wanted to do early, and they executed that. This game felt like an upset from the beginning, but Arizona did keep it close, right? And they had some chances, but they couldn't handle Clemson. Clemson was just they were firing on all cylinders. They came to play and they couldn't handle. Now the question is NC State going to be able to be that team? We're going to see. NC State's a great story, and the one thing that NC State had a lot of teams are going to have a problem with is they have multiple bigs who can play together, and they know how to cover up for each other's deficiencies, and they beat you on the boards. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well, man. But any thoughts that you have from any of these games? Wasn't that many, which is easy to go through a ball and then talk about because it wasn't that many.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the one that's going on right now. You look at this NC State and Marquette game. I was, watching a little bit of it before we got on, and Marquette's just really struggling to knock down shots. So we're gonna have to see, are they going to be able to get hot in the second half here? Because as you said, this is an NC State team that if you're not knocking down your shots, it's going to be a problem. They can really kind of weigh on you. So we're going to see how that one goes. Obviously tight game on the other game right now, but the Alabama Clemson game or the Alabama North Carolina game, like you said, it just really came down to at the end of the game, North Carolina didn't execute. They didn't make the shots they needed to make. That was really the bottom line for that game. Clemson's just been a surprise to me, man, because this is a team a lot of people had picked as the 11-6 upset in round 1, had them losing to New Mexico. And they went out and won the game by 20 points. And this was a team that, really struggled in the ACC tournament, just did not look good down the stretch. And usually if you look bad down the stretch, you play bad in the tournament. So this is kind of a very unusual run, but this is a Clemson team that, remember, when they started the season, actually started off well. And they're playing the way they were playing at the beginning of the season. I mean, they knocked off number 3 Baylor. They beat number 2 Arizona. It's going to be interesting to see because there is a very real chance, and I don't want to take anything away from Alabama because they're a scrappy team too, but there's a very good chance that this Clemson team is in the Final Four. And then, UConn is my pick for national championship. If they keep playing the way that they've been playing, that's exactly what they're going to be. Now, we're going to see, can Illinois slow them down? It's going to definitely be an interesting matchup. We'll have to see what happens there. And then that Illinois Iowa State game, man, that was a fun one to watch.
It was interesting. There were a lot of these were good games though. The Alabama North Carolina game was a good game. The Clemson Arizona game, that was a good game. It was close. Those are close games. Neither team was out of it until the very end. You thought the other team could win. So, good close games, and that's what you want at this point. You at least want to have close games, obviously, except for UConn. But the top of that bracket was not prepped to handle UConn, and that's the benefit of being a number one overall seed. Yeah. You get the easiest, so to speak, path, right? Yeah. You get some good teams. Don't get me wrong, teams that can beat them, but UConn is the type of team that there wasn't many people in their side of the bracket that was going to challenge them.
Yeah. One thing I would just add real quick, man, because you kind of brought up in the North Carolina game, the player execution versus coaching, and when I was watching that game last night, there was a period where both teams were playing super fast, and it kind of went from just playing fast to like playing sloppy. And I really thought that both coaches did a great job of kind of pulling the players to the side and calming them down and getting them to play within the offense of what they were trying to get them to do, rather than just frantically out there playing. So, just shout out to both coaches for a great job with that.
Yep. And just to give you guys an update, with 7 minutes and 18 seconds left, Purdue is up 28-24 over Gonzaga right now, so they did come back and take the lead. Still halftime on the NC State Marquette game, so nothing from those guys. And then we'll slide over to the women. So with the women, we've had some games completed. We had South Carolina and Indiana face off in the Sweet 16. Yeah. South Carolina did win, but I will tell you this: South Carolina is prone to these type of games about every 3 or 4 games. They'll have one of those games where you're like, what are you doing, South Carolina? They still win them, obviously, but they're close. And as a fan of college basketball, I would rather see this than 88-41.
Yeah.
Because this gives me something to watch and something worth seeing and something to be excited about. Like, oh, man, that's a good game. That was a nail-biter. I thought, both teams could still win. Normally when you see South Carolina play, it doesn't feel that way. So happy that they were able to, do that.
Yeah.
Then on the bottom half, you had Oregon State and Notre Dame. And Oregon State, they pulled out a 5-point victory, 70-65 over Notre Dame. I don't even remember. I know South Carolina's my national champion in the women's brackets. I think I had Notre Dame beating Oregon State. I might have had Oregon State beating Notre Dame. I don't know. But another good game. So that sets up an Elite Eight matchup between South Carolina and Oregon State. So that'll be a fun game, to watch. On the other side, the games haven't happened yet. But tomorrow we'll get Iowa versus Colorado. And one matchup in Albany 2. Of course, it started with Albany 1. And then the winner of that game will play the winner of LSU and UCLA. We already gave our picks on these on our other show, but just for those who may not have heard, I'm going with Iowa to win over Colorado and LSU to win over UCLA. And what were your picks, sir?
Yeah, I had both the same on those.
All right.
At least I think I did. I don't think I'm switching opinions now.
So in Portland 4, we do have a game going on now. Tonight at 10, we'll get Texas and Gonzaga. So shout out to the women and men for being in the Sweet 16 both. So we'll have a winner from that by tomorrow. And then right now we have number 3 NC State versus number 2 Stanford. And NC State is down by 6. Stanford's winning 26-20 right now. So the winner of that game will play the winner of that Texas-Gonzaga game. And then on the other side, those 2 games are tomorrow as well. We'll get number 1 Southern California versus number 5 Baylor, as well as number 3 UConn versus number 7 Duke. So for me, for the 3 game, well, for all the games, well, for the 3 games that I haven't started yet, I got Texas over Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Southern California over Baylor,
Mm-hmm.
and I have UConn over Duke because Duke, y'all fans stink.
Right.
I haven't heard from some of y'all in my inbox in over 2 years, but here you were this morning, like cockroaches that turn the light off.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah, reminds me of some other fan bases, like that one in Arlington.
And
So, yeah, man,
you talked about Gonzaga. Same thing for NC State.
yes, sir. I was hoping you would catch that pitch when I served it up to you. Good job.
Yeah, we're doing now.
Hey, sometimes you serve up, man. Sometimes you throw a soft volley and you hope the other guy kills it. It's teamwork makes the dream work.
So what we're doing? Okay.
Sometimes teamwork makes the dream work, man. So, yeah, so March Madness, man, has been very exciting. Obviously, especially with the men, there's been a lot of upsets. The women, not so much so far.
Yeah.
But you got a couple of chances because a lot of these number ones are expected to make it to the Final Four and the championship game. So you can still have a couple of minor upsets, but I think we see the difference between the men's and women's as far as the parity. It's a little bit, more.
Yeah.
Right. The women is more the top tier teams, and the lesser teams are still getting better, but they're not quite there. With men's, I think you have just a lot more guys playing, a lot more guys staying in school now. So you get some of these teams that may not be as talented,
Mm-hmm.
but they can beat a young team that's really talented. And that's why you have that difference between the men's and the women's, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I'm sitting here looking, like Iowa, like, yeah, we expect them to get by Colorado, but they're gonna have a tough matchup, whether it's LSU or UCLA, right? I mean, neither one of those are give me's. Uh, you know, UConn, it might, if the way we're picking it, you're gonna have UConn versus USC. That would be an interesting matchup as well. Then Texas is going to be playing NC State or Stanford if they get by Gonzaga. So yeah, lots of opportunities for these ones to go down. Right? Because these aren't going to be easy games. You're not getting like in the men's. A lot of times, you'll get maybe that 11 seed that sneaks through, and you're like, okay, well, Cinderella runs you in now, right? But when you look at the women's side, there's nobody below a 5 seed left. So these are all going to be tough games. Well, actually, Duke's a 7 and they're left, but that's the only one.
Mm-hmm. So, couple of NBA notes here to talk about. Something a little different. So we have Draymond Green, Mr. Scumbag himself, makes it 4 minutes before getting his second tech and kicked out of the game the other night. So Golden State ended up winning the game without him. But your thoughts first on Draymond Green being the scumbag that we know and expect him to be.
So I saw the headline. I didn't even actually read the article, and I wasn't watching the game. So you're gonna have to tell me what did this dude even do to get kicked out of a game 4 minutes in?
Oh, I wasn't watching.
Yeah, because
I wasn't watching.
Yeah, because
but he got 2 techs in 4 minutes.
Yeah, because if you want to know my thoughts on Draymond Green, the fact that I didn't even click on the article or care enough to know what he did, I think will tell you everything you need to know about what my thoughts on Draymond Green at this point.
Fair enough. So also, I'll give my thoughts. So Draymond Green is the kind of guy who he does this all the time, right? He gets kicked out. He's like second all time in being, kicked out of games behind I think like Rasheed Wallace. He even said himself. I was reading an article. I think I still have it that says he deserves to be kicked out. I'm trying to see.
Rod, that's a whole different generation, Rod. That's a whole different generation, sir.
So he got a personal foul. Apparently here he got a personal foul. So Rod says the Trail Sprewell would give Draymond Green crazy work. So that's one thing about the Trail Sprewell. The Trail Sprewell will choke you.
Yeah.
Draymond Green is giving you what we consider the undertaking, what we call the undertaking.
Yes.
Which is he's going straight for your crotchinal reason, we'll say.
From the backside.
Yeah. He's going at your crotchinal reason. He's giving you a Ric Flair. Or worse. Or he's putting you in a coquina clutch. Things like that. So, I mean, now if you say Dennis Rodman, I'm more with you, Rod, than the Trail Sprewell, because all he did was choke a coach. He didn't want no smoke from his fellow contemporaries.
Yeah.
Now you're a coach, he'll choke you, but he didn't want no smoke from his contemporaries. So Draymond Green, he got called for a foul and started yelling at the ref and got his first technical.
Mm-hmm.
So then for the second technical, apparently he says he was trying to turn his body and angle it to the bench, but he said some things too soon, and the ref teed him up again and kicked him out. So basically his mouth this time. So he didn't beat anybody up this time, it was his mouth. Rod says Ron Artest and Vernon Maxwell. Ron Artest, yeah. Ron Artest is a crazy individual. Mad Max, I mean, I don't know. That's a good reach and height advantage from over Mad Max. I can't say he would. I can't say he wouldn't. But definitely Ron Artest. You don't want to smoke with Ron Artest. Ron Artest, you don't want to smoke. This man went in the crowd and started beating up fans. You don't want to smoke with him.
No. I'm just waiting for him to throw Bill Laimbeer in this conversation, where you just keep bringing people up.
Well, that's definitely not going to be a win for Bill Laimbeer. Bill Laimbeer is one of those, instead of being a crotch grabbing tough guy, if somebody ran up on him, he turned into a cheek spreading soft guy. He talked all the trash as long as somebody was in between you, but he didn't want that smoke. And Zach Randolph wasn't about to fight nobody in no game. He looked like he'd beat everybody up, but he wasn't about to fight nobody in no game. Who can you name that Zach Randolph ever had smoked with in a game situation?
Let's just call it like what it really is. If you want to really talk about somebody that would have put Draymond in his place, you might want to mention the guy who actually did punch a teammate at practice. That would be Mr. Goat himself. Might be like, look, man, time for your ignorance and push him in the mouth. That's what would have happened.
Hey, but Draymond might would have punched him back because Draymond punched teammates too.
Yeah, but then you know what would have happened after that? Draymond been playing for something else.
He'd been playing for New York Knicks after
that. They would have sent him out to Siberia.
AP, I definitely agree, Rodman and we'll just call him Meta World Peace. They definitely would have put him in his place. 1,000 trillion %.
That's when you know that you're a violent individual, is when you decide to reform yourself and you change your name and you put world peace in your name. You have to be a highly violent individual to do that.
So Rod has up the tab on Google of tough guy NBA players.
I see that.
He's reading off that list. Yeah.
So
now he goes to Charles Oakley. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. He's going through every tough guy or every dirty player in NBA history.
Yeah, he's definitely got that list up. Yep. I feel it though. I mean,
sir, we all knew that when he got to Zach Randolph. Come on.
Yeah.
You did just come up with Zach Randolph top of your head. Come on.
No, you didn't come up with Zach Randolph. No.
Actually, when you said Vernon Maxwell, like really, like, come on, bro. You ain't just come over Vernon Maxwell at the top of your head.
Mad Max. I'd say Shaq before that, because Shaq will swing some fist at you, some fisticuffs. You know what I'm saying? Him and Chuck.
The
They'll swing some
fisticuffs.
Yes, sir. So after Draymond Green, I like this one from AP. AP says, Ja will have his friends jump Green. You'll have to go back and watch the beginning, Rob. We actually did discuss that already, pimping. But let's just say business-wise, it makes sense. And if you want the breakdown, just rewind after the show and watch that part. Steph Curry, after this, had a meltdown. I don't know if you saw the video, but basically when Draymond got kicked out, he was crying. He had his shirt over his face while he had his hands in his face. He was wiping his face. It's like he had a meltdown on the sideline because Draymond Green got kicked out. And they still won the game.
What was this, like a meltdown, like I'm distraught because they took my BFF away from me? Or was this I'm trying to control myself because I really want to go over there and put this dude in a chokehold right now?
Definitely not the second one. We're talking about Steph Curry. Definitely not the second one.
I mean, I didn't think so, but I didn't see it. So that's why I wanted to get clarification.
Yeah. Anytime we're talking about Mr. Curry, we're not talking about the second one. AP says Green is an important piece of the team. Rod says will do. So Green is an important piece. I won't take that away from it. But at what point do the shenanigans, the nonsense, the tomfoolery, the horseplay, the poppycock become too much? And that's where I think Golden State has to look like. We're paying this dude a lot of money, and he in the headlines for more negative than positive stuff that could have had an effect on the young guys. Because let's be honest, he already ended Jordan Poole's career. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Once he punched him in the face and the organization sided with Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, man, he ain't never been the same.
Right.
So while he may have been an important piece in the past, has the off the field things gotten to the point where it's kind of starting to overshadow what he brings on the court? Because there are other guys that can do what Draymond Green can do. And I'm not diminishing him in whatsoever, but there are other guys that can do that as well. Younger, maybe still a step or two faster, with less inert anger just somewhere inside them for whatever reason. Just, my thoughts on Draymond Green being important to the team.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, man. Like, is he still a important piece in terms of they really don't have anybody else there that does what he does? Yes. Is he at this point in his career somebody that cannot easily be replaced? I don't think so.
Rod, I'm gonna put this up here just because I find this funny. So Rod said it was R. Kelly's meltdown with Gayle King. I don't think he said anybody was trying to kill him, but there was some covered tears. So but I'll give you that one, Rod. I'll give you that one. That did give me a chuckle when I saw it. I'll give you that. Kudos for the chuckle. All right. So Steph, man, you can't be crying because your boy get kicked out. You know how you go. I'm not gonna do what other people would say. I'm just gonna say that.
I'll say this, man. I'm going to make an assumption here, and I might be wrong, but I'm gonna make an assumption here that this really has more to do with the fact of off the court. That's your boy, right? That's your peoples. And that dude got some issues. He been in therapy and been suspended and all this other stuff. And the team talking about some it seems like he's doing better, his personality's doing better, all this stuff. And so, you got some hope for your boy, and then to come out there and do the same stupid stuff that he always do. And maybe that was just that moment of just like heartbreak of like this idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like this my boy, but this idiot.
Oh, we have some friends that we say that about, I know.
Yeah, we do. We all do. Some people might say it about us.
If everybody says it about me, you're not my friend. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that right. I'm just saying I say it.
That's why I said you say you're not my friend because you know that's not right.
Yeah.
So AP asked a good question. I'm gonna run through my thoughts real quick, and then feel free to add anything. So third replay challenge. If you make one of the first two, duh. Yeah, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Right.
The whole thing about the offense being assessed a penalty, even if there's a turnover or whatever, that's great on paper. We'll have to see how they actually enforce it.
Yeah.
The replay to overturn a quarterback being down or that are out of bounds before throwing a pass, or whether the game clock expired before the ball was snapped for a quarter or a half or whatever. Duh. Like, what took so long? The change to the kickoff rules, it is what it is. Some people try to say, like, Jeffrey Lurie was on the owners, and some others like, oh, they went in a room and they took a bunch of time and they came up with this innovative idea. No, they just took what the XFL used to do. It's not coming up with the innovative idea.
I'll just point out real quick on the kickoff thing. There were 3 teams that voted against it, and we were one of them. And our owner was asked why he voted against it. So I don't know if this is why the other 2 voted against it or not. But what he said was it wasn't so much that they had an issue with the kickoff itself, but what they wanted was the ability to alter or make changes to the rule in the middle of the season if, for whatever reason, like teams agreed that it wasn't working out. So I don't know if that's why the other 2 teams also were not one to vote for it, if that's what they were also trying to get changed, or the other 2 teams, excuse me. But I think that would have been a better way to go, honestly, because you're just going to go out and throw in this whole new style of kickoffs. And if it's an utter disaster, now we're basically stuck with it the entire season, no matter what.
Makes sense to me. Now, the one that I know you want to hear our thoughts on is the hip drop. I'm not going to take what my co-host has already said because we talked about it before, but I'll just say I'll echo the sentiment that a lot of people have. In the next 10 years or so, it looks like we're going to be playing either 2-hand touch, where you have like some sensors all over the player, and then once they tap it with 2 hands, they light up and they have to stop. Or we're going to be playing some type of evolved flag football if we continue to take everything away to make the defense be able to do anything. And I'll let my co-host, kind of break down his thoughts from what he talked about before, instead of being one of those grandstandings that take from others.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, I feel like at the end of the day, you are just asking guys to do stuff that's unreasonable. I understand that you want to try to protect people, and I wish there was a way to take the actual hip drop tackle out of the game without being so broad with it, right? Like, I don't necessarily have an issue when you say, like, if you're tackling somebody from behind and you land on top of their legs, like you literally throw your body into them where you're landing on the back of their legs. I don't necessarily have an issue with that being taken away, right? Because you don't have to land on somebody's legs to tackle them. But at the same time, there's going to be times that that's just going to happen accidentally. Like, you're not trying to do it. You're not trying to hurt the person, but that's just what ends up happening, right? That's the momentum carries or whatever, and you end up doing it. So to me, the biggest issue I have with this rule is you are making a fundamental change to the way the game is played in a way that negatively affects the defense, because, heavens forbid we do anything that's going to affect an offense. Because as my co-host pointed out on our radio show, when we were talking about the offense being assessed a penalty, even on a turnover, in essence, what you're really doing is you're giving the other offense more yards. So that's not even helpful to the defense, right? That's still just really just helping the other offense. So, we don't want to do anything to actually help defenses play better defense. We just want to make things harder on the defense so that the league can get more points on the board. And I don't have an issue with you trying to do things to increase player safety, but at the same time, I'm just really worried about how this is going to get officiated because officials can't even get calls right now. And now you're going to ask them to start doing this. It'd be one thing if you were just like, say, the first season or whatever, you say, hey, we're not going to assess this on the field. This is going to be fines that we're going to hand out. That way it's not impacting games until we kind of get some of the kinks worked out of this. But that's not what you're doing. You're just going to go out there and start throwing flags. And it's just another way, another opportunity for the officials to decide football games. And I'm sick of it.
And of course, the only other one we're really talking about is the trade deadline being moved to the Tuesday after week 9. Because it makes sense. And then one that is jokingly been called the 49er rule is the teams can elevate a bona fide quarterback an unlimited number of times from its practice squad to its active list to be its emergency third quarterback.
To be clear, we did not submit that rule.
Well, to be clear, the reason it's called the 49er rule is because the whole emergency third quarterback thing is because of the 49ers.
Yes.
So that's why they call it the 49er rules.
Right. That's our rule. Somebody else then decided they need to be able to elevate and de-elevate somebody every week. But I do like the rule, but just saying it's not. We didn't put it out. That's all. Just clarifying that we didn't put it out. That's it.
But to be clear, the rule would not be there if the 49ers hadn't got the third emergency quarterback situation. So that's why people call it the 49er rule. And I do subscribe to people call it the 49er rule, just to be clear.
Well, you and other people are like what I like to call wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. If you make up the basis of a rule and somebody adds to it, it's still the 49er rule. And that's what happened. So Rod asked, would we re-sign Clay in the offseason?
Nope.
If I had Bishop Bullwinkle queued up, I would play that. But to answer, no. Not unless it was for a reasonable salary coinciding with his deteriorating play.
Yeah.
So a lot less money, that's what I'm saying in a nice way.
To the no is what you really want to say? Yeah.
Yes. H&R to the no. There's a remix that I found too that I might download for certain situations like this futurely going forward. So APS, you think NFL is changing the safety or because XFL is on the come up? For safety, XFL ain't even on the come up no more. They didn't merge with the USFL and the UFL.
I'm gonna say neither. I think it's when publicly they'll say safety, right? Because it gives the appearance of safety. But I think the real reason they want to do it is that they're hoping to bring some excitement back to the kickoff. Because let's be honest, most NFL kickoffs are really a good time for you to go to the bathroom.
So what you're trying to say, Mr. Box, what you're trying to sit here and tell us is that the NFL does not care about player safety. You have the audacity to say that the NFL doesn't care about player safety.
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that exactly.
Well, if you don't think they're changing for safety, then I feel like you're saying that the NFL does not care about player safety.
And all I'm saying, sir, is that's not exactly the words that I used. So if people
don't care about player safety,
if people infer such beliefs about the NFL, I cannot be held responsible for what they may have inferred.
Well, let me be clear. The NFL has not one iota, one sliver of concern for player safety, but they do want to look like they do.
Hold on.
For when that stuff happens.
Hold on. I cannot agree with you on that. I cannot agree with you when you say they do not have one iota. Because if Patrick Mahomes is not available for the playoffs, they are going to care very much. They want certain people to be healthy.
Well,
that is the iota.
Well, it's not that they care about his safety. It's that they care about the Chiefs as a whole. So they're not going to let you do anything to any of the Chiefs. Right? If you hit a backup Chiefs wide receiver on a kickoff the wrong way, you're getting flagged because it's a chief.
Depends on if it's a playoff game or regular season.
Oh, you still get flagged in the regular season, but it might be incidental contact in the regular season. The playoffs is 15 yards automatic. It's a personal foul every time.
It's an ejection.
Automatic.
You're out of here.
Targeting. You didn't even use your helmet. Targeting. You're out of here.
Draymond Green.
Right. So AP says, does the NFL want us to tackle Derrick Henry in the legs or the mid torso? And you have to do it from the front or the back. You cannot hit him from the side because you might accidentally hip tackle him.
Yeah. You got to hit him from the thigh pad to the bottom of his chest. And if it's from the front, you better run through him. And if it's from behind, you better just jump on his back and let him gain 3 or 4 more yards and carry you until you get him down.
AP also says most players make the team because the kickoff. Now you change it. It's crazy. Hey, that means I can have more defensive players and less special teams designated guys. I'm fine with that. Y'all just go out there and line up. And then AP also says you go into 18 games, it's about money, not safety. Factualizations. Probably be 20 in the next year or two because he's going to be flag football anyway in a couple of years. So you play flag football longer.
They already on the way to having every single team play international game. Give them about 5 more years.
Oh, yeah.
Every single team.
Well, actually.
Yeah, every team in the league will be playing an international game in the next 5 years. Guaranteed.
So actually, I watched Jeffrey Lurie's press conference, and there is a 6-year rotation that everyone has to play an international game. So we volunteered for our game to be the one in Barcelona on Friday. That's the only one we'll have to do in the next 6 years. So it's actually in place now. So we got ahead of the curve and said, you know what? We'll just do the one we'll just do that Friday night joint and then we done.
Yeah, but
that's what Jeffrey Lurie said in the press conference.
It's gonna get to the point where it's gonna be every season you're gonna have one. We do the same thing with that y'all talking about. We did the same thing with the Mexico game.
Yeah. So we just say, hey, we'll go to the new market, do that one, and then we done for like the next 6 years.
And then somehow we keep getting we keep convincing them to give us the Cardinals in the Mexico game. So it's really not even a big deal.
Right. What I've heard is that it'll be the Browns against us, so they'll be good for the next 6 years too. I would rather it be, well, you know what? I ain't even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not gonna be that petty today. I am working on me a little bit. So 2 more quick things, guys. So Monty Williams came out and accused Donte Divencinzo of stat padding. All I have to say to that is you're on one of, if not the worst teams in the league. What do you think I'm going to do? We suck. We're terrible. We're worse than the Hornets. What do you think I'm going to do? Yeah, I'm going to stat pad. Absolutely. Any thoughts, sir?
No, I agree.
And Monty, why are you out here calling out players for stat padding when you pretending to be an NBA head coach? Things that make you go, just saying.
Maybe he should focus on win padding. Just saying, it might help with your job security. Just
maybe he should work on job padding. Man. Then, as we have been doing the last few weeks, and we'll be doing the next couple of weeks, road to Wrestlemania. So we had a couple of interesting events happen here. We had the most important was the Rock went Attitude Era. The beginning of Raw. Cody's in the middle of a promo. I told people Rock was going to be on Raw. They told me next week. I said it's going to be on this week and next week. And he was.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes out in the middle of Cody's promo, whispers something in the ear and leave. We find out later they told Cody, I'm going to make you bleed tonight. So, end of the night, he keeps his word. I was watching and we had a little bit of that, like they were trying to bleep out certain things, like profanity and stuff. So I didn't see the part until I went back and watched later, where Drew McIntyre took out Seth Rollins after the Jey Uso main event match. And apparently Jey Uso got taken out as well. But Cody was in the back fighting Solo and Jimmy. He fought off Jimmy, obviously, because everybody fights off Jimmy. Jimmy's like the bottom rung, but he's got a WrestleMania match. It just irks my soul every time I think about it. Then he fought off Solo. So then while he's fighting Solo, The Rock grabs him and beats his ever-loving monkey ass. Bloodies him up, takes his blood, rubs it on the belt like he told Mama Rose he was going to do, and everything. Calls him a boy a couple of times. I mean, it's an old school, like, Attitude Era almost type, just beat down. Loved it. And it seals for me that my guy, American Nightmare, will be your champion. And the story will finish night 2 of WrestleMania. Which, due to some changes, I won't be live at WrestleMania for night 2. But I will be in the building Monday night, Raw after WrestleMania, with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on my shoulder. Your thoughts on the Rock Cody beatdown angle?
So I'm gonna tell you what's interesting to me about this. Somebody actually pointed this out, and I hadn't really thought about it from this perspective until I read it, but it makes a lot of sense, right? We haven't seen a lot of Roman, right? If you didn't know any better, if you didn't look at any of the promo cards, you would actually think that Cody versus Rock was the main event at WrestleMania, right? And somebody pointed out, they said it seems that WWE is trying to prepare us for what life is going to look like after Roman Reigns is not there. I said, it makes a lot of sense, right?
I need to jump in right now and say one thing on that. This is a serious question. So Roman Reigns has been champ for what, like 3,000 days or so?
Not quite that, but okay.
I mean, round it up. It's been over 2,500. It's close to 3,000, right? How many titles defenses does this man have in all the time that he's been champ?
Okay.
Great question. I have an answer for you. 58.
Okay.
So has Roman Reigns ever really been here for us to prepare for life without him? Because life with him is only once every 2-3 months.
So
for a couple of weeks.
So a couple things with this. So first of all, his title reign is 1,300 days, not 3,000.
Well, I mean, if you want to go look it up and be precise, but I mean, I think everybody understands exactly what I was saying. Let me be clear for anyone that doesn't. He's been champion for a very long time, and he's only had 58 matches.
Yeah, if I wanted to be specific, so I would have said 1,305. But
that's okay.
The thing is, I don't care about title defenses like that, right? Like, yes, I would like to see him have more title defenses than he's had. But the thing is, Roman Reigns is not the kind of guy that I really want to see wrestling every week anyways, right? That's like, he doesn't have a style that I want to watch every single week. So I don't mind that a lot of the times we see him is doing promos or doing other things. And the way they've done the Bloodline storyline is given a lot of room. The reason that Jey Uso was able to build himself up and get where he is because he was given that time to shine, and it wasn't always Roman taking all the spotlight. But Roman ultimately always was the centerpiece. Even when he wasn't there, they were talking about him, right? It was always, everything came back to him. Whereas with this buildup, we're not hearing his name even a lot. There's been a lot more focus, and Rock even calling himself the final boss, right? So to me, there's clearly something going on there. They also are clearly setting up. And the one thing I like with this storyline, one thing I think they're doing really well is they hear the rumors, right? They know people are like, oh, is Seth going to turn? Is Jay going to come back to the fold? Is Solo going to get involved? Are there going to be other members of the family who are not technically in the bloodline right now find a way to get involved? If Cody and Seth win night one, all this other stuff, right? They hear all that, and they're planting all these little seeds, like putting the Stone Cold truck outside, right? And stuff like that. They're doing all these
Stone
little
Cold and John Cena truck.
The John Cena truck, yeah. They're doing all these little things to try to keep people guessing. So although we all know that the 99.9% chance is that Cody's going to win at WrestleMania, right? There's just enough question marks, enough doubt where there's like that 1% of a chance that you're like, is there actually a possibility that he doesn't? So that's what I think is interesting about the storyline right now.
I'll just say, first let me say this. Let me respond to these. So AP says, I'm not feeling the tag team match. It's just a way for The Rock to have a vanity match. It's not really necessary. I agree, AP. Other people should have been able to have that spot. I would rather see Solo in a match than have, those guys have to fight 2 nights in a row. 3 of the 4 people in 2 main events have to fight both nights. So Rod says, what are your thoughts on Terrell Owens' son and Frank Gore's son? I don't have any at this point because honestly, while I do hear things about them, they aren't considered, from what I've read, first round draft guys. They're, later round pick guys. So, I don't have any real thoughts on that. So AP says he's not feeling the tag team match for the belts. I'd rather have the tag team ladder match for the belts than The Rock and Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I'm not too excited about either one. An elimination match would have been better, or a 6-pack challenge match of some sorts would have been better than that. AP, but this may be a way to finally split the titles, because what if they have the titles where one team grabs each set and then they get split again? That would be a logical way to have a title split. So if they do something like that, I would be happy with it. But other than that, I don't care about either one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In terms of Rod's question, I know that some people attended Terrell Owens' son pro day. I didn't watch any of it. I don't really know a whole lot about him. Frank Gore, I know that his son played for can't think of the school right now, but they played Florida State this year. So I was actually looking forward to getting to see him play. And they didn't really give him very many touches, so I didn't get a chance to see him really do much. So I really still don't have much of an opinion on him either.
Fair enough. So other things of note real quick here. We had Bailey gaining LI last week on SmackDown, and Naomi. And then, the week before last. Then last week we saw Naomi and Bailey have an interaction, and Bianca Belair interject herself in to help Naomi, but still kind of having beef with Bailey. So we know that'll be 3 people that'll be part of that co-group to kind of go up against Damage Control. And it may have happened already, because obviously I'm here, so I'm not watching SmackDown right now. But we do have what I like to call Thundercakes, Jade Cargill, who will be making her debut tonight.
Yes,
on SmackDown.
I saw the highlight of it.
So she may be in the coming week, I guess I should say, she may be joining that contingent against Io Sky and Damage Control. That would be a good moment, I think, to have her in, where she doesn't necessarily have to have a match, but she gets to be a part of WrestleMania. I think that would be smart booking. And AP says, if Cody don't win, WWE just wastes a good long storyline for nothing. That's the thing. He has to win. He has to win at WrestleMania.
I don't agree though, because I'm just going to be very blunt in what I'm about to say. WWE fans, wrestling fans in general, but especially WWE fans, have shown time and time and time again. You can abuse their favorite person over and over and over again, and they will still be giddy when you finally give them the belt. Even if Cody loses, none of y'all are gonna hate Cody. Cody could turn around and win the belt 3 months from now, and everybody like, "Yay, Cody!"
No, that's not true.
It is true.
I'm going to explain something to you that you don't know.
Maybe not for you, but
no, it's a lot of people that feel the same way that I do. Here's the thing: your best chance to get Cody as a nuclear over guy was last year at WrestleMania. That was the time. You did it then. Cody's over. Cody's nuclear. Cody's that guy. You're selling more merch. He's out. He probably would have outsold a bloodline by himself had you given it to him last year. You have another chance. You put him in this position. If you don't give him the belt now, he's never going to be as hot as he is right now. You cannot regenerate for a third time him being as hot and people being as invested in him. He can win the belt. People be like, "Oh, cool, Cody won the belt," but there won't be the same je ne sais quoi about his win. There won't be the same outpouring of emotion and happiness. It'll be like, whatever. You know when you should have done it. Because you've told Cody fans, you've told the people that like to hop on to somebody, right? The people that just like to do face, that is Cody. So if you don't do the buy off, yeah, people will be happy, but you won't get the payoff if you do it later on. This is your chance, WWE. You can decide to do it, you can decide not to, but if you do it 3 months from now, I'll be happy Cody wins, but I won't care when he changes the belt or any of those things. I won't care anymore. This is your last chance.
We'll find out. If he doesn't win, we'll find out.
I can tell you, I speak to several other, people who really watch wrestling that are Cody fans. And the thing is, you're going to be happy if your guy wins, but you played us for 2 years. We're not rocking with you like that anymore. And it's not Cody. It's the WWE.
Here's the thing. I hear you, and I believe that people say it. I also know that people say a lot of things that they think they mean, and then they go back on it. So what people say right now means nothing to me. The words that come out of your mouth are useless when it comes to how you're going to react to something down the road. It just is.
Well, I'll tell you this. Not here to change your mind, but I will tell you this. There's a group of people who, whatever happens, they go, yeah. But for the masses, for the people who, well, no, I'm not gonna say the masses because that's the word. I'll be like, yeah. But for the people who really watch the sport, for the people who follow the storylines, which is a good amount of people now, all the little wrestling marks and smarts and stuff. You've led all the breadcrumbs to this is the payoff. There's only one WrestleMania. WrestleMania doesn't happen every month. WrestleMania doesn't happen 3 times a year. WrestleMania happens once every 365 days. You managed not for 365 days because the period of time that he was fighting Brock Lesnar and Shinsuke Nakamura and crap like that, no one cared. He came out, people did, whoa, but you didn't talk about him on your shows. There weren't any "we want Cody" chants. There weren't any hashtag, Cody Rhodes, all this stuff. That wasn't there. Had you put it off, had you say, you know what, guys, he's not going to win the Royal Rumble this year. Okay, he's not going to win the Royal Rumble. He's not going to win the WWE Championship. It is what it is. People would have stepped back and marinated. But he won 2 years in a row, rarefied air. If you don't give him the championship at WrestleMania, it's not going to hit the same. And you can, you can go off of history for certain guys, but there have been a lot of guys that they gave the championship to too late and their reigns failed. And the right of their reigns failed because you didn't strike where they were hot. And to WWE, the reign failing means they're not getting the ticket sales from that person being the headliner. They're not getting the merchandise purchase from that guy being the main guy. You don't do that now, and that's going to be Cody.
So this is my thing with this, right? I've been kind of looking at this from the perspective of Cody. If he wins, that I don't see a situation in which Roman's not going to want a rematch, right? Because you're probably not going to have The Rock and Roman immediately start something and Roman be distracted by that where he doesn't care about the belt, right? So if he wants a rematch, is Cody going to really be able to beat Roman twice in a row? You're not going to go put the belt right back on Roman. So
here's what you're forgetting. It's going to be SummerSlam before Roman even shows his face after WrestleMania, whether he wins or loses. It's going to be 3 months before you see Roman Reigns again, because this is what happens every year after WrestleMania. He's not going to show up the night after WrestleMania. He's not going to show up on SmackDown. He's going to fight in this match, win or lose, and we're going to see him in the build of SummerSlam. So for 2.5 months, you're not going to see Roman Reigns. So for 2.5 months, it doesn't even matter if Cody wins or loses. He's going to be there every week. Roman's not, because that's Roman Reigns. 58 defenses in like 3 years. That's what you're forgetting.
See, I don't know. I mean, we'll see, but I think that's speculation, right? Like we don't know that for sure. So
no, it's already out there. He's taking another break like he does every year after WrestleMania. They've already put that out there, just like they did last year. He's going to be taking a break.
Okay, well, maybe
him and The Rock, which is not a surprise because The Rock only wants to be there for major stuff.
Again, just because people say things on the internet.
Well, he's confirmed to be taping a movie, so I mean, he's going to do both of them because he didn't do it before for The Rock. So I think both of those guys will disappear for a few months. They'll come back, and then they'll pick up on whatever the storyline is, if the bloodline's still around or whatever, which I think it will be, because I think they'll get the new members. I don't know if they would actively be a part of the match or even if they'll debut that night. I think the bloodline will get some new members. So The Rock, so the good thing about this storyline and Roman and probably The Rock as well, however they work it out, Roman doesn't have to be there for things to continue because you've got Paul Heyman, the wise man. You know, all you hear is call Roman Reigns. So you can still make it seem like he's pulling the strings without manipulating things without being there, which is what they've been doing most of his reign anyway. So that'll still happen. But I think as far as actually having him there, we won't see him again until around SummerSlam build-up. That's Roman Reigns.
Well, I'm just gonna put it out there, man, that
he's the new Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't gonna agree with this, but
why not agree with you? I said that earlier, and somebody disagreed.
I didn't say that I disagreed. I said that you were a jerk. I pointed it out. It's a little different there, sir. A little difference.
Is it?
Yes, it is. But no, look, my thing is, I don't really care if Cody wins or not. I honestly think that people are going to grow sick of Cody very quickly once he becomes champion. I don't think that he's going to be a great champion. I feel like he needs somebody like Roman or The Rock to make him a very interesting character in the first place. He'll have, a few matches and a few feuds with some guys who can wrestle really well, and people will love it for a little bit. But after about 6 months or so, people are going to be tired of Cody, man. He's just not that guy who carries it. And especially if he's going to continue with this super old school, like, I'm going to be the nice guy, and like, nobody wants to see that anymore, man. That's not an interesting character today. And he's not going to come out in the all black outfit and cuss every other week either. So that's not.
So here's what I think will happen if he becomes champ. I think we'll get the nice guy Cody Rhodes for a few months. He'll have a few challenges, and then we'll see him slowly descend into his nightmare persona, where he'll be a bad guy. And I will tell you this: Well, no, not his nightmare persona, but kind of what he did in AEW, where he felt like he was the good guy, but he was the bad guy. That's a lot more interesting than this cookie cutter politician good guy that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, because I don't like.
I think winning the belt. I think winning the belt will change him to more of a heelish character, maybe not a heel, but a heelish character, more of a tweener than just an all around politician, good guy, smiling baby face, baby kissing guy. And it's really weird for me to like a guy who's this type of baby face. I just like this guy.
Yeah, I know you.
I don't know why I just like this guy. I just like this guy, man. But if he was to stay who he is, it would not be a long reign. I think the main point of him having the reign is changing the WWE Championship to some sort of winged eagle design, which is what I'm really more excited about than him actually winning the belt. APS. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick. I will go back to the one thing I do keep pointing out. The only reason I really am kind of saying maybe they push Cody actually winning back some is I don't know with Vince now being gone how important it is to them for him to pass Hulk Hogan. I think if Vince was still there, I would be 100% convinced that he's going to hold on to pass Hogan for that title reign. But with Vince gone, it's not out of the question, but it's questionable.
Well, I just say this, man. WWE is going to do whatever they've already decided, good or bad, whether we agree with it or not, because it's what they do.
Yeah.
But I think you have certain wrestlers and you have a certain period if you really want them to hit. This is it for Cody Rhodes. If you don't have him hit now, then what's going to happen is you've missed that window. You've had over a full calendar year to hit that window. You've missed the window, and then you're going to go and you're going to give him the championship a year from now, 6 months from now, and say, see, I told you, I knew Cody wouldn't be, the guy that could really carry the belt. You made him not be the guy that could carry the belt because when people wanted him, didn't do it. I can name you 2 people that they've listened to the crowd and let hit when they should supposed to hit. One of them is Daniel Bryan. The other one is Kofi Kingston. Those are the 2. And there may be 1 or 2 more, but those are the 2 that come to mind. They got hot. The crowd was behind them. They were nuclear heat. They were in nuclear love from the crowd, and they gave them the belt.
Yeah.
Those guys sold T-shirts. They were everywhere. You were selling the championships with the custom coffee plates, the cups of Daniel Bryan plates. Make sure I say his name, his WWE name right. So that's the thing. It's about hitting with the guy while people still want the guy to win. And I think you're right in saying that a lot of times when guys win, they go down, people don't care. It's because they don't hit when person's hot. Yeah. There was a time when you could have made Ricochet world champion and people would have been behind him. But that time is gone now.
Yeah. To answer AP's question about the bloodline.
This is very obvious.
So listen, it is very obvious in the fact that, anybody over Jimmy pretty much, right? But this is one of my predictions. If Roman Reigns does in fact stay off of TV for a few months, I could see a situation in which Roman Reigns off camera instructs Paul Heyman to have Jimmy and Solo individually try to go after the title and take the belt back away from Cody and bring it back to the bloodline. Right? And they will both fail miserably. And then it will take a while to build either one of them back up. But long term,
Solo
anybody over Jimmy
would have I would say Solo would have the better career because I think he's been already established as a guy that after this could go on to have a good career. Versus Jimmy, it's more like, why is he even still employed?
Yeah, and it also depends on what you mean. Because let's be legitimate. Solo is probably not going to be anything other than like the monster, right? Like that's always going to be Solo's kind of gimmick is he's going to be the guy that beats you up. You know, he might win a couple of titles here and there, but there is a long history of wrestling of basically his character that they never really ascend to the top. Now, if they want to be smart and they want to push him, the smart thing to do would be to keep him with Paul Heyman and allow Paul Heyman to be his mouthpiece and allow Paul Heyman to get him over because then you can push him, right? Because that's the problem when you have guys like this. The reason why Brock Lesnar was able to kind of break the mold because Brock Lesnar is basically the same kind of character that Solo is, right? Just big physical guy. But the main reason why Brock Lesnar was able to get over was Paul Heyman. And his freakish athleticism, but you know.
Yeah, I think Solo's a guy that they're looking to be a major player in the future. Not right now, but he could still be a mid-card guy now. I think you could take him right now and put him in the picture for like a tag team championship with a good partner or like the Intercontinental United States Championship, and he could win that and help make that make sense. So AP says you don't see Jimmy and Solo going after the tag belts. I don't see anybody wanting to be in a tag team with Jimmy. I don't see Jimmy lasting. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't think that would be a good tag team. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, they could, right? I mean, they could do it, but it's like at the end of the day, would you care? I mean, that's you tell me that, AP. Would you care if they teamed up and went after the tag titles? Would you even care?
No.
Right. Would you care less than you care about him and Jay fighting at WrestleMania? Cool. That's my question for you.
It's about equal. It's about equal. It's about equal.
At some point, so here's the thing: the Bloodline storyline is not over because we still have to get Roman against Rock, right? And at some point, whether it's Jay coming back, whether it's Jimmy, whether it's Solo, whether it's somebody we haven't met yet, somebody else eventually is going to take over the head of the table role. They're not done. They're not done with this faction yet.
And then if somebody else takes over, so the rule as Roman Reigns has thrown it out there is if you take over, you choose your own wise man. So if you think of another really good talker that might be out there, they could actually be the new wise man and not Paul Heyman. Because he's the Rock's. He's probably going to be the Rock's wise man too. Because they're all old. Like Seth Rollins says.
Paul Heyman was way in there.
Yeah. And Paul's going in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Paul, for that as well.
Much deserved.
Absolutely. So, sir, anything else that you would like to discuss before we ease on down the road?
Man, I think it's a good time to go ahead and remind people we're about a month out. We will be doing our live NFL draft first round coverage. So make sure you put that on your calendar. We will not be on Friday night that week. We'll be on Thursday night for the first round of the draft. So put it on your calendar. Come hang out with your boys.
Yep, absolutely. And as always, make sure that you tell 2 of your friends, 4 of your enemies. Because just because they don't like you doesn't mean they won't watch us. And as always, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And the play callers, we out.